Hello, welcome back to the Underhand Free Throw. As always, I am Simon, and today me and my co-host Ian are going to be continuing our Contenders mini-series halfway through the NBA season. We're going to be talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers today. Both of us are pretty high on the Cavaliers. Both of us very much consider them contenders, and I guess we're going to talk about the reasons why here.
All right, so we've got to go to my fourth team, which is the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Okay. I can dig it.
I feel like we're not going to have a single similarity here, which is it's kind of fun. Sometimes we agree too much. It's boring. Cleveland Cavs plus 4.62 simple rating system, relative offensive rating of 1, negative 3.7 relative defensive rating, which is that's about as good as it gets in the NBA. It's legitimately as good as it gets in the NBA. There's the Grizzlies as well. Grizzlies are actually better, but I think that defense just gives them such a high floor. And I don't think they've figured out their offensive potential yet, but it's something that I'm keeping an eye on in the second half of the season. They've got a lot of firepower on that roster, and they haven't figured it out. It seems like every time I watch the Cavs, they're only 5 or 6 deep because there's random injuries. Like no one, like besides Rubio, no one's been like epically injured, but it's like all their 5 starters except for Evan Mobley have missed little chunks of time. So it feels like they're never. Dean Wade actually, is the other one who's missed.
Yeah, I was gonna say, hold up. Dean Wade's missed like the entire season.
Yeah, he's back. Rubio's back. I feel like we're about to see what the Cavs can be. Like we've got we already know what the high defensive floor of having 2 elite mobile rim protectors behind any combination of players is working out really well for them, and also emboldens some of their weaker defensive guards to become more aggressive and therefore become better defensive guards. But I just feel like this team has been playing 5 or 6 deep, and if they get to the playoffs healthy, they're going to be 9 or 10 deep because they're going to have Rubio and they're going to have Wade and they're going to have CD Osman, they're going to have Kevin Love, and they're going to there's just like a ton of. And a lot of those guys are crafty and bring different things. And I feel like there's a chance for them to really carve out an identity. If Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell can just torch people often enough in the playoffs and that defense is going to stay solid, I think the Cavs have pretty solid contender status.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I had them. This is your number 4 spot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had them 1 spot higher. But I mean, we're pretty much right in line here. Dean Wade, the the potential answer at the kind of for like that 5th guy in the Cavs. In the Cavs, either starting lineup or closing lineup, however you want to spin it. I think Dean and Chetty are kind of their 2, possible mainstays there. I still want to see if they make a trade because they do have a fairly large expiring contract to unload with Karis LeVert, which I think they would probably feel comfortable unloading if they could find the right trade partner. The only problem is they don't really have any first-round draft picks to attach. Yeah. Maybe they could do the Los Angeles Lakers thing and just, LeVert and a bunch of seconds in exchange for, some slight upgrade. I would feel a little bit more comfortable if the Cavs did that and it worked out. And it kind of solidified that 5th guy in their rotation. Just because Dean Wade has had major injury issues all the way back to college. I think it was one of the main reasons he wasn't drafted. He missed like half of his college career with all these like crazy foot injuries that kept popping back up. And I do like Chetty, but the 3-point shot has been inconsistent this year. I still do think he's probably their best option at the 3 just because he's a ball mover. He's steady enough defensively. He's mobile enough defensively. And defenses do respect him. I mean, they guard him, right? So he accomplishes the role of a floor spacer just because he does extend the defense out when he's on the floor. And he attacks pretty hard transition too. So, I mean, there's some positives there. I just say, I don't see the Cavs being quite as perfect of a team as the 2 that I have in my top 2.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can't argue with the defense. The defense has been really good. Evan Mobley has been really, really good defensively all year. He's seen a bit more of a role as kind of like a big man, like rim protector, which you like to see. Not just like a 7-foot guy that can guard perimeter players. but like
Yeah.
more of a really well-rounded player. And yeah, I mean, Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, you have like two guys who I think are both going to be able to create offense for themselves and others in the playoffs.
Yeah. I feel also like when I look at kind of, I was, as I scan all these teams for potential like playoff weaknesses and stuff like that, I kind of noticed like the Cavs aren't actually really that bad at anything. Like they've got this very solid basement. Like you don't see them in the bottom five in almost any statistical category.
Oh, one thing they are bad at. They
Yeah.
take a lot of mid-range shots and they don't make them.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
the shot diet is a little bit concerning, but
yeah.
maybe that's something that's not going to matter as much in the playoffs because the defense can tighten up and cause their opponents to take more of those bad shots as well.
But they're also really good at forcing other people into taking mid-range shots, and
that's true.
And they defend that action really well. But even in that, like they're in terms of like they're 20th in the NBA in terms of shot distribution so they're bottom 10 at that. They're not like, again, like it's just hard to find something this team is like bottom 5 at or anything worse than that. It's like, which is just kind of what that says to me. Oh, they don't guard the 3-point line that well. Actually, that's probably their biggest weakness.
Yeah, that's potentially true.
Or could be shooting luck. It's really, I always find that the hardest thing to pick apart is like when are you giving a team too many open shots, and when is the team just like been pretty lucky? Because I have heard the Cavs get mentioned a lot for bad shooting luck against them, and all of Evan Mobley's defensive like catch-all metrics that involve on-off are ruined because teams have been like on fire, just like coincidence while he's on the court. But if you look at the film, there's nothing to indicate that has anything to do with Evan Mobley.
Yeah, and then also the one question you have to ask, if it is true that it has something to do with shooting luck and they're not actually giving up a bunch of wide open threes, you have the compounding factor of like you're in a playoff series, and as we've seen in many playoff series, there's like a lot of just random instances of role players not being able to shoot very well or randomly catching fire. So, I mean, 3-point shooting defense is definitely important, but it's not usually like the main thing I want to look at for a playoff series, just because like with how short these series are and with how tiny the sample size of games is and the variance of the 3-point shot, I don't know if it's something you can hang your hat on as much as like, what kind of shots you're forcing your opponents to take and how well you defend the rim.
Yeah, totally. Cleveland Cavaliers also second overall in adjusted net rating. So like even though their season hasn't gone like perfectly yet, it's just kind of like, oh, this team's really good, and I just see so much room. There's a couple teams in this category where it's like I feel there's so much room for them to get better. Does that mean they will get better? Like, I don't know. We'll find out. But there's a lot. Like I just see so many paths. Like they're like their offense seems like junky and bad. It's like, oh, they're like 11th in offense in a year where there's like 20 good offensive teams or 25 ridiculously good offensive teams. So yeah, I see the Cavs as an inner circle contender, as are all the teams we're talking about. But yeah, go Cavs.
As mentioned earlier, this is a mini-series. We have more videos in this series. We're talking about all of our favorite contenders in the NBA at the halfway point. To see the next contender, please click on this video here, and you will be directed towards that. And thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on the Underhand Free Throw.